Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are graced by a lady who has really been shifting the needle in the entrepreneurship space. Her name is Retang Phaahla. And I'm excited, Retang, to sit down with you and just, hear a bit about your journey. And, hopefully you can share a couple of nuggets for other entrepreneurs out there who are trying to get into business and trying to really do meaningful things in business. Retang, please tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Retang Phaahla, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Setšong Tea Crafters. We specialize in developing indigenous teas that have been consumed by many rural communities for many generations and that have been part of indigenous knowledge systems, but were never commercialized. So we are currently mostly working in Limpopo, within the Sekhukhune region, commercializing the indigenous flora in that area. We work with the rural communities, upskill them to, be at the forefront of the manufacturing and the production. And then we work hand in hand with them to commercialize and put the products into market. So we have currently penetrated retail spaces across the country, the hospitality industry, as well as a few export markets as well.
Interesting. Uh, you started this business 2017. Why 2017 specifically?
Well, the business started in 2017, but we started developing the business in 2014. The development of the business took about 3 years, and this was inspired by my mother. So she was and is a community development specialist. She's been working within rural communities and peri-urban and township across the country. But in 2014, she decided she wanted to go back home, back to our village, because it had been quite some time since, we were there, and we had, the village life had grown a little bit distant at the time. So in our culture, you'd be buried in the village, and she found it problematic that she'll be buried in a place where people don't really know her. So she started paving the way for us to start connecting back with our heritage and our roots in that time. Although she thought she was going to retire, she took her community development work with her and started mobilizing women in the community just to understand their lifestyles and how they lived. And what stood out was the indigenous knowledge systems. They knew so much about different herbs and plants and indigenous food. And in fact, that district of Sekhukhune was studied and published to be one of the poorest districts in South Africa. But my mom, what she saw there was not poverty. She saw people living self-sustainably, living from the land. And so from time to time, she'd come back to Gauteng and share what she learned with us. And I got intrigued by the teas that she brought home. There were a long list of different products and ingredients that she'd bring, but the teas really stood out. And it was also a bonding experience for my mom and I because we both are, serious tea lovers. And so we were just blown away by the unique flavors of these teas and the health benefits of them. So it took some time. In 2016, we started getting the products tested through SABS. And by 2017, we were ready to start testing the market. So although we only started retailing and selling the product in 2017, we were developing the product for 3 years underground, basically.
So what were some of the challenges you faced, bringing this project to life, bringing this product to life?
Mm. There were a number of challenges in the beginning, to try and bring the product to market. Firstly, we were trying to commercialize herbs that had never been commercialized in the market before. There was also very limited research that was done by universities and other scientists about these plants. And our own knowledge was also quite limited. I come from the construction environment. I'm a quantity surveyor by trade. My mom's a community developer and a nurse by profession. So we didn't really know much about the food industry. So everything was brand new and we were learning as we went. We made some mistakes along the way. But yeah, some of the challenges included really understanding the regulations that are required to introduce a product like this into the market space. We didn't know much about food safety, about the type of testing that needed to be done. But thankfully, through guidance of institutions like the SABS and Department of Science and Innovation and CSIR, who we later started coming to know, we were able to really understand the landscape. There's other laws as well that are associated with producing a product out of indigenous plants. There are biotrade laws and indigenous legislations are, as well, around benefit sharing with communities and all of that. So it's a highly legislated industry. And besides that, we also didn't have resources to get the product into the market. So we started by using what we have. I started developing a range of different flavors and infusions in my mom's kitchen just through trial and error. And we found, entry level packaging that we would use, like brown paper bags, and we'd staple a card on there and start selling at markets. And yeah, that's basically how we began. But we were just working in the dark. We had no idea what we know today. But yeah, it was a completely new journey for us.
Yeah. I mean, you're a quantity surveyor yourself. It just sounds like it's a huge transition from being a quantity surveyor to being someone who is actively in the food business. Was it not a hard transition for you to move away from something that's quite foreign to the food business?
Yeah, it was quite difficult to move away from the construction environment and move into the food industry. But I think what made it easy was the passion. I didn't know that I even had a love for food and for developing food products and beverages. But it really led me to unlock a new passion and something that I really enjoyed doing. I mean, I ended up spending hours in the kitchen trying to come up with different tea infusions. And I think my love for tea also made it easier to transition into that space. And I did so much research on tea and the tea cultures around the world. So, I mean, I love, travel and I love learning about different cultures as well. So it kind of felt like it was a better suited fit to my personality than being in the construction industry was. But what's very interesting for me is that I also brought in my knowledge from being a quantity surveyor into, structuring the costings and the financial side of the business. It really assisted me quite a great deal. So, being in this space in the food industry and just being an entrepreneur in general, you end up utilizing all your skills and talents that you've accumulated along the way. So nothing that I learned and nothing that's been part of my prior journey went to waste. I ended up using those skills as well.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, COVID for many people was the year business, they either lost their businesses or the business grew exponentially. What was the experience for you?
During COVID, a lot of, people were worried about what would happen to their businesses and, even to their jobs. And during that time, early on in COVID, we had a lot of insecurities as well because we were still early in the trade. We hadn't really established our name in the market yet. But we didn't anticipate that there would be a sudden boom and in demand for health products during that period. So, COVID actually propelled us forward and got our brand name out there. So, at the time, people were looking for a tea that's, quite well known and has a lot of history within our country, which is Lingana. Some will know it as Umhlonyane, others know it as African wormwood, but there was a huge demand for that during COVID. Uh, you know, based on the influence from Madagascar having a similar tea that was assisting them with COVID relief. So we used that as an opportunity to include that product into our range so that we can leverage on that to get our brand in there out there. So it wasn't a product that we initially had prior to COVID, but it's an indigenous plant and it carries a lot of health benefits. So it just made sense for our brand to include it and for us to push it out there into the market. So we saw a huge increase in our online sales, but it also allowed us to gain entry into some of the retailers that didn't know where they would find that product. So our first retailer that we were able to sign up is Kalapeng Pharmacies, and they had at the time I think they had about 30 pharmacies across the country, and that was our first entry into retail, and other smaller retailers followed from there. So we really used that as an opportunity to leverage and get our brand out there. We even got media attention during that time. So a lot of people began knowing about Setšong, and we then developed hampers as well. So where you would get the Lingana tea, we'd also include our other tea varieties like our Tepane, Black Bush, Lemon, Ginger and Cinnamon Flute tea, and our Red Root Detox teas, so that people could also experience those teas as well.
Oh, wow. I mean, a big part of your business leans on rural development of women in particular. Why is there this grand focus on women?
Well, early on in our journey, as I mentioned, we were trying to just really assist rural communities to develop products and develop an industry out of their own indigenous knowledge systems. I mentioned that a lot of these teas that had been consumed were never commercialized. Yet a lot of yet there's so much indigenous knowledge and there's so many indigenous plants within our rural community. So we saw that as an opportunity to develop the rural economy and influence the development of an industry within the rural areas using the natural assets that are there. So it happened naturally that women became the forefront of this development, at the forefront of this development, because within our rural communities, we mostly have women that are there, keeping the homes together. A lot of the youth and men are in the city working, and the women are the ones who are really preserving rural life for us. So that's how it happened that those the women in the rural communities were at the frontier and were the first recipients and first beneficiaries of the development. But later, as this whole initiative unfolded, we had young people, the children of these women starting to later benefit and join the business, as well as some of the men in the community as well.
Oh, wow. So what are some of the transformations that you've seen at rural level of some of the people that you guys have employed?
At rural level, we've seen so much transformation, Firstly, just the dignity that comes with validating the indigenous knowledge systems, Our communities have been drinking these teas, but they didn't have the means of getting them tested to actually verify the indigenous claims. So that validation, really brings about a strong sense of dignity for our communities and pride as well in our culture, our heritage, and our indigenous knowledge systems. We've been able to create different job opportunities from wild harvesting, where we've developed, a supplier development program where we train up wild harvesters from different communities who have access to these plants. We train them on sustainable harvesting, and then they become our suppliers. And, most of the people that are working with us as suppliers were unemployed. So this allows them to have a source of income. And then we developed two cooperatives, one for our Tepane Black Bush tea and another for our DR Red Root tea. And these two cooperatives are shareholders within the business. So they benefit directly from the growth of the business. And we also have employed 30 people within our entire value chain, from processing up to distribution. Some of them are now working in our warehouse here in Johannesburg as well. So we're working hard to ensure that we're preserving indigenous knowledge systems. We are bringing dignity in terms of our culture, exposing our culture, while also creating job and ownership opportunities.
Beautiful, beautiful. One thing that you mentioned, that really fascinates me is the fact that this is a rural grown business that has found its way into some of the shelves of the retail shops that we're shopping in the cities and stuff. Where can people find some of these products?
Our products can be found through various retailers, namely Dis-Chem pharmacies, food lovers markets, Spar, Cosmetic Connection, to name a few. We're also available online through platforms like Amazon, Takealot, and Macro. And we offer a bouquet of different infusions and teas that cater to the needs of the health conscious consumer and the modern consumer who would ordinarily not be able to access these indigenous plants. And we're seeing that there's a huge demand increase for health products now. People are becoming more health conscious. So we've got, infusions for your hormones to help you detox, de-stress and calm your nerves, give you a natural boost of energy. And they're all made from indigenous plants.
Mm. What's been the export opportunities that you've identified globally for African indigenous teas like yours?
Mm. Well, there's a huge market for indigenous teas around the globe. In fact, South Africa is one of the lower, the smaller tea markets compared to the rest of the globe. The tea culture and the demand for tea is quite big in regions such as Asia and Europe and South America. So we've been able to actually engage distributors in those regions. We currently are in discussions with distributors in Japan, but we're already exporting to the US and the UK, and as well as a little bit of Brazil as well. So there's a lot of opportunity around the globe.
Mm. So I want to ask, for an entrepreneur who's out there, what does it take to get your product onto a shelf in Discam or a Clicks or as far? What does it take?
To get your products listed with a national retailer or even tap into export opportunities, it takes, firstly, resilience as an entrepreneur. It's not an overnight journey. There is a lot that's required in terms of compliance, meeting food safety standards and regulations. But it's also important to understand your market. We all get excited about listing our product on a retail shelf. It sounds great, like it's an achievement, but that's only where the journey starts. You need to ensure that you have a customer base that is going to buy the product off of the shelf. So there are a lot of considerations. You have to ensure that those retailers are placed in a location that is suited to your core customer base. You have to look at your pricing models, because there's a lot of different things to consider that affect your pricing and your financial viability in a retail space, because there are distribution costs, there are sales and merchandising costs, there are trading terms. So you have to ensure that you have a sound financial model so that you don't lose money at the end of the day. And you just need to ensure that you also have a solid marketing strategy.
Mm. It sounds like personally there's a lot required from you to see a business become this successful. Mentally, emotionally, physically, what is this taken for you?
Yeah, it's taken a lot for me as an individual to build this business. It takes a lot of strength, like you mentioned, physically, emotionally, spiritually. For me, I feel that this is a calling. This is I don't think there's anything else I'd rather be doing with my life. And for me, being that it feels like it's a calling, there's a huge driving force in sustaining me on a daily basis because there are highs and lows in entrepreneurship. It's an emotional roller coaster at times. You deal with stress, anxiety, sleepless nights. So it's really important for you to remember the purpose, the why. And that why is what carries you through, even in those darkest moments. It's not an easy journey by any means, but if it aligns to your purpose and it aligns to your passion, it'll truly be a fulfilling one.
Who have you leaned on to in this journey?
Well, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to build this business with my family. So my mother, my brother, and I are working together, and we walk this entrepreneurship journey together. So, firstly, we've been able to lean on each other through these difficult times. I've also got a very supportive husband as well. So it's important for you to have a strong support system as an entrepreneur because sometimes you might feel like you want to give up, but your support system can bring you back and remind you why you started in the first place and show you how far you've come because sometimes you get stuck in your current situation and you don't realize how far you've come. And the first level, actually the greatest inspiration and the greatest strength I draw from is God. I'm a huge believer that He's put me here and brought me into this business. So my faith carries me through a lot of those dark moments as well, and that's where I draw most of my strength.
Beautiful. So, there's a lot of skepticism around doing business with family or friends. What's unique about your own experience?
Yeah, and I'm aware that, especially in the Black community, if I can say that, family business is not very common and a lot of people shy away from it. But for us, it's worked for us greatly because nobody knows me better than my family. And being in a business partnership is like being in a marriage. It's like being in a very intimate relationship and it's a long journey. So it's been better and easier for us to work. I mean, of course, we've had our challenges. It hasn't been smooth sailing all the time. But, being a family, there's that element that bonds us together. And, that knowledge that comes with being a family where you know, um, my family knows me and they know my weaknesses, they know my strengths, and we're able to complement each other. And even when it's difficult, we're able to persevere and assist each other, even financially, and eat from the same plate. One paycheck that would maybe only carry an individual family over there. We can share that paycheck and eat together because we're a family, and that's what makes us persevere through those difficult challenges. So I think especially when you are walking a long journey, which in most cases businesses take a long time. I mean, we've been at it now for almost 10 years, and our relationship has been tested, but we've been able to support each other and persevere through our challenges and complement each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of people who have done business with family members would have felt that way in the early stages of the business until they stop feeling that way. So, what I would like to know is structurally, how have you guys made sure that, you can navigate conflict, you can navigate disagreements, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So structure is highly important when you are working in a family business. Firstly, before structure, actually, a common vision is highly important. Our common vision and passion for community development, and our vision to develop a legacy that's generational, is what forced us as well to develop the structure that we have. So we've got a board of directors, and my brother is the chairman of that board. I'm the CEO, and my mother is the sustainability director. So, having those positions, formalizing your positions is very important because, you know, I've been placed in this position because of my strengths. We've all been placed in those positions because of our strengths, the unique talents and knowledge that we bring to the organization. And because we formalized into those roles and responsibilities, we have to respect each other's work, for those specific portfolios that we carry. It's important to have formal employment contracts, even when you are founders of the business, and when you're running a business as a family, so that your roles and responsibilities don't overlap and you're not stepping on each other's toes. And you can also hold each other accountable. So we even have performance reviews and strategy reviews. So just like we would with any other employee, we hold each other accountable. So it's very important to have that structure and formality in order to succeed in a family business.
Mm. No, that's really beautiful. I think there's a lot to learn from how you guys have positioned your business, because if you look at other races, they have run family businesses for centuries and passed them on and on and on. Do you look at this business like a legacy business for you?
Definitely, we look at it as a legacy business, and that's our common vision. As a family, is that we might not reap the full rewards in our lifetime, but we're all conscious that we want to leave this behind for our children and our children's children, and we're already seeing that legacy happening just by the mere fact that this business was developed through a vision that my mother had. And now, as her children, we're building the business and, taking it to a level that she probably wouldn't have been able to take it on her own. And we're hopeful that our children will take it even further, and we're even seeing that happening in the community. So, where we started with the women, the elderly women in the rural communities, now their children are even part of the management of the business. And, even through the shareholding structure that we've developed, we're also ensuring that, the shares of those elderly women in from the rural communities are also going to be passed down and left for their children, so that their children can benefit from their parents' sacrifice, and ultimately from our own heritage and indigenous knowledge.
Mhm. No, I think it sounds like you really have your finger on the pulse. I mean, considering that you are the 2025 Veuve Bold Woman Award winner, what was that experience like for you?
To win the Veuve Clicquot Bold Woman Award was really exciting and humbling. But it spoke to the power of our African stories. It speaks to the power of our indigenous knowledge systems and the power of us working together as a community. It also shows that our African stories can excel on a global platform. So for me, this wasn't an award just for me alone. It was an award for all the women within rural communities that are carrying a dream to see their villages and their families transformed.
Mm. What is that meant for your business? How is it translated in your business, winning that award?
Winning the Veuve Clicquot Award definitely, brought about, I think, um, what's the word? Sorry, I just lost the word. But it basically, that the recognition carried a lot of weight for our brand. It really showed that. as a small Black business that, we're not going anywhere. It's difficult to compete, you know, especially in the tea industry, because the tea industry is highly saturated with a lot of different brands on the shelf. People with a lot more resources and financial muscle. But the award really set us apart. It highlighted our story, our value proposition, and assisted us to, be recognized as a key player within the tea industry. So it brought a lot of new opportunities as well. It assisted us to expand our reach into more retailers, and into it opened up new business opportunities for us. So I mean, currently we're in the process of finalizing our entry into Club Med, which is a French-owned resort that's coming to Belito, and Setšong is one of the teas that will be enjoyed in that resort. So there's new business opportunities that are coming our way just through the recognition and the exposure that came with the award.
Oh, beautiful. So, personally, when I think of tea, I think of my grandmother. She's my immediate reference of tea drinking. Uh, what are some of the memories you have when you think tea?
I have many memories when I think of tea. So similar to you, I think of my grandmother too. I think all of us, remember our having to make tea either for our grandmother or our mothers. I mean, when I was young growing up, I used to feel like it was torture. The moment my mom walked through the door, because I'm the last born, I'd have to make her a cup of tea. If any visitor walks through the house, I'd have to make them a cup of tea. And even with my grandmother, it was the same. So there are those memories, but I remember how appreciated I would be by my grandmother or my mother just for making them that cup of tea. And I just remember how welcome people would feel into our home when we were offering them a cup of tea and some biscuits. I also carried that with me later, even when I went to varsity. And, some of my res mates would come to my room and we'd share a cup of tea and have conversations. So tea is a conversation starter. It's a beverage that carries so much warmth. And yeah, so I carry that with me even today. Anyone who walks through my home will be welcomed with a cup of tea. So it's something that I carry with me as a fond memory, and that's what made me fall in love with tea.
Mm. Look, I think from a business point of view, your business is almost 10, it's 10 next year. Next year, you 10 years, next year in business. It's very hard to sustain a business over such a period of time. What's been your trick?
Well, our trick to sustain the business is to be open minded, is to be forced to innovate and, thinking on our feet. So, we've been quick to transform and innovate and, adapt to new trends and adapt to customer needs. I think sometimes we become too sentimental around something that we developed originally, and we want to hold on to that, but we don't adapt fast enough. So I think for us, just adapting, coming up with new products and new offerings is what has kept us in business for so long. We've developed other product offerings now, like even within the tourism space, we do tea tours, and we've got a bush retreat on our facility where we do massage and offer camping. We also partner with people who want to throw high teas, and we create a whole high tea experience. So it's been a lovely journey, and it's been really fun. Just, finding ourselves in new spaces and adapting our offering to those new spaces all the time. So we work with corporates as well to provide wellness experiences and team building experiences. So, we're constantly looking how we can fit ourselves into different customer segments, and we don't confine ourselves into just one segment. So that adaptability is very important to keep you in business.
I mean, at what point do you embrace that? Because it sounds like your business really has multiple revenue streams. You're not just leaning on one thing. Was COVID, one of the things that made you say, I can't just stick to one thing? Why the need for so much diversification?
We responded to the needs of our customers. So, for instance, we started just by selling tea, but people started asking us if we can assist them with planning their high teas, for instance, or corporate events aligned to tea. So for us, anything tea related just makes sense because we also want to create an experience out of our brand. And I think that's something key in marketing right now. It's not just about the product; it's about the lifestyle and the experience. So from the beginning, we knew that we were a lifestyle brand, and so for us, it just felt natural to adapt to the needs of our customers in a way that will fit into their lifestyle and leave a lasting memory around the brand. We wanted to create memories with our clients that our clients will remember forever.
I mean, look, I look at your enterprise as social entrepreneurship for the most part. I'm curious to know, from a legacy point of view, how do you want people to remember you?
Personally,
Yeah, personally.
well, I want people to remember me as a custodian of African indigenous knowledge systems, as somebody who modernized and took indigenous knowledge systems to the next generation. Because if it wasn't for the work that we're doing right now, most of this knowledge would have died. And um, it wouldn't have been passed down to the next generation. And that happens just far too often with our heritage and our indigenous knowledge systems. So I want to be remembered for taking that legacy to the next generation.
Yeah. And why should people enter the Veuve Awards?
People should definitely enter the Veuve Clicquot Bold Women Awards because this is your opportunity to share your story with the world. People need inspiration, and it's also it's also a great opportunity for you to validate what you've created and share a piece of it with the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.